Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Selling Greenville, your favorite real estate podcast here in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm your host as always, Stan McCune, realtor right here in Greenville. You can find all of my contact info in the show notes if you need to reach out to me for any of your real estate needs. Just a reminder as always, please like, rate, review, subscribe. Make sure you don't miss future episodes. Make sure you support the show, right? Hitting that little like button goes a long way. If you leave me a comment on YouTube, I will respond to it, assuming it's a thoughtful comment. And not a Linktree sort of link or something like that. So don't do that. But I appreciate any engagement that I get from you all from the show. Today, I'm not sure when I'm going to be releasing this podcast because I am going on a trip. I am, next week. Again, I don't know when I'm recording this, or I can't talk today. I don't know when I am going to release this podcast. It could be on February, let's see here. It might be on February 11th. It might be on February 18th. It depends on a few things. But February 11th is my 40th birthday. And for my 40th birthday, I'm going on a hiking trip with my friend Seth, who has been on the show before. We had a funny episode, that was just a lighthearted episode that we did, I believe it was last year, if not the year before. And so that's gonna be fun. Going out west for a little hiking trip. Gonna end in Vegas, and that should go really well. So I will still be available if you need to reach me for whatever. I'm not going phoneless on a trip like this. However, I don't plan to record a podcast while I'm out there, I don't think. And so I'm working ahead, and we'll just see exactly when this gets released. But we do need to talk about, all of that aside, some recent development, no pun intended, that have happened in the world of Greenville development. And I want to just tell you guys this. Housing in Greenville is going to continue to get more expensive. I've been beating this drum for a long time for a variety of reasons, but we just keep getting more information that just keeps pointing that way. And right now we have things happening on the local level, state level, and national level that all lead me to believe we are going to see continued affordability issues in Greenville. We're going to continue to see the cost of living, the cost of housing in Greenville continue to go up unless someone does something. And we've talked about things that can be done in the past on the show. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to get into why I think specific things that have happened the past few weeks confirm that housing is going to get more expensive. We're going to start with this. We've talked about impact fees on the show a good bit. Greenville County is really obsessed with impact fees right now. Impact fees are basically taxes that are imposed on a developer on every single lot that they develop. So if they have a subdivision of 200 homes, a $5,000 impact fee is something that they would have to pay directly to the county, $5,000 for every single lot that they developed, right? So you take 200 times 5,000, that's the amount that they would have to pay for that subdivision. That amount, after everything is done, studies have shown over and over again that amount gets tripled and then passed along to the consumer. And the consumer is a buyer, right? A home buyer. And so if you have a $5,000 impact fee, you're now looking at a minimum $15,000 increase on the cost of a home to a first-time home buyer, or to any home buyer. And $15,000 in the general scheme of things, like when you're talking about, the average cost of a house in Greenville is over $300,000, might not sound like that much, but I can't tell you how many times I've had clients that wanted a house that was just outside their reach, right? It was like if it could come down $10,000, they could afford it, but where it's at, they can't. And so $15,000 can make or break things for some people. And so Greenville County has been, for several years now, has been imposing impact fees, doing all sorts of stuff with regard to impact fees, talking them up, talking about how, so we had a vote on a penny sales tax not too long ago in order to fix our roads. And there are a variety of reasons why the penny sales tax failed. But one of them was that Greenville County Council, several county council people said, we don't need to do this. We can raise this money other ways. And one of the ways that they said was through impact fees. Well, the Planning Commission in Greenville County contracted, and actually, I'm just going to read this straight from the Post and Courier, okay? Post and Courier did a great article about this a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago. Well, again, depending on when I release this, it might be several weeks ago. All right, here's what the Post and Courier said. The Planning Commission contracted, the Greenville County Planning Commission contracted Idaho-based consulting firm Tischler Bice to conduct a study over the past several months. Carson Bice of Tischler Bice, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, said the lack of a penny tax or similar revenue stream makes impact fees a bad idea for Greenville County. At a January 13th joint meeting of County Council and the Planning Commission, Bice said state law places strict limitations on how impact fees can be spent. Geographic requirements, spending timelines, and use specifications all hem in how the county can use the money. And while funds collected from the fees can offset local road projects, they will not pay for them entirely. Not even close. Listen, it's not even close. That means that the county has to find the remainder from other sources. The county is legally obligated to spend any revenue from impact fees within 3 years, and if it can't afford the project, a serious possibility, given the rate of growth coupled with limited funding, problems could arise. Quote, the county would have to come up with quite a bit of money, and they don't have a dedicated revenue source, Bice said, so it's much easier to implement a road impact fee when you've got that sales tax. The fact that a large portion of roads inventory in Greenville County is owned by the state and that the county would be addressing deficiencies on existing road rather than building new ones could also create legal and logistical hurdles. Still Blunt, Benton Blunt, the chair of Greenville County Council, who campaigned against the penny tax in 2024, said he still sees potential in implementing the fees, the impact fees. In June, the county reallocated money from business tax break agreements, siphoning future revenue growth from jurisdictions, including the local school district and fire departments, to more than double annual spending on roads. That increased funding remains far short of what county staff says is needed to meet infrastructure needs, but Blunt said it could change the math when it comes to impact fees. Even if a road impact fee proves to be not feasible, Blunt said exploring the option fully is necessary to build constituent trust. That's all I'm going to read from that. Long story short, impact fees on new development increases the cost of housing. It's not going to put a dent into fixing the roads around here, but Greenville County Council is still obsessed with them and is still going to keep pushing for them. And going to be imposing them as much as possible because it really isn't about roads, okay? There's a reason why, if it sounded obtuse, what some of those quotes in there, it's because it's not about roads. Greenville County Council, these county council people were elected with a mandate. They were put into office with a mandate to stop development, right? Because we've got a bunch of NIMBYs, the not in your backyard people, in Greenville. I mean, they're everywhere, but they're really big in Greenville. And these people don't want any more homes. No more homes. Well, when you stop building homes, which is what Greenville County Council is trying to accomplish, when you stop building homes, the cost of housing goes up, right? The only reason we haven't seen the cost of housing skyrocket the past few years, it's not directly because of mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are having an impact, but it's really because of new construction, because new construction is cheaper to buy right now than, on average, than existing home sales. So people are going to new construction. Well, if that new construction wasn't there, that would be really, really hard, right? That would make housing so much less affordable for people. So on the local level, that's what we're experiencing. On the state level, here is what Governor McMaster just said recently in his State of the State address. Now, Governor McMaster is in his final term. There will be a new governor election this year, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they approach this. But I'm going to read you a direct quote from his State of the State. He said, last year, the U-Haul rental company ranked South Carolina as the #1 destination for their moving trucks and vans. I believe it. Left unaddressed, we will face future problems with water and sewer access, traffic congestion, road and bridge repair, demand for electric power generation, public safety, school overcrowding, and healthcare availability. Therefore, I submit to you that the time has come and reality requires that we assess whether our state's infrastructure and government services will be able to catch up if this unrestrained out-of-state, my emphasis, unrestrained out-of-state population growth continues. Woo! That's a shot across the bow right there. The governor of South Carolina is saying we are growing too much, too fast. When have you ever heard a governor say that? South Carolina is such a unicorn in the United States of America. But the reason is our taxes are pretty low, so that brings people in. But then because the taxes are low, we can't afford all these to upgrade all these infrastructure things to the extent that they need to be upgraded. And of course, South Carolina is a humongous vacation destination, right? And it used to just be Myrtle Beach. Now it's also Charleston. Now it's all the islands down south of Charleston. It's Greenville, right? Greenville is now a huge tourist destination. Columbia gets a lot of not tourists, but a lot of people from out of state visiting for political stuff. So the entire state of South Carolina is having people visit, and it's having people move here. And the governor, for the governor to stand up there, I'm telling you, I was so shocked when he said this, to say it's too much growth. We can't handle the growth. Now, the very next sentence, he said that we need to reduce taxes in our state. And I think that's really the reason why he's concerned about the growth, is that he sees the tax revenue simply isn't enough. And he wants to, he has pledged to reduce taxes. There has been a little bit of that's done during the governor's 2 terms, but not tremendously, right? It hasn't had a huge impact, relatively speaking. So he's been all about lowering taxes, but the problem is that South Carolina is not in a good place to lower taxes because we have so many different needs. Now, how would we stop this unrestrained out-of-state population growth, as the governor described it? I have no idea. Like, what does that mean? How do you stop that from happening? And if you do stop that from happening, then what? And so, long story short, what the governor is explaining here is that we have a tremendous amount of people moving to the state. That's only going to continue. That's going to continue to drive up the cost of housing. I don't see any solution for that, except probably increase taxes, right? That would be the one thing. And I'm certainly not cheering for increased taxes. I'm pretty anti-tax for the most part, unless it's absolutely necessary. But we've got, in the absence of that, people are going to continue to move here. They like the climate. They like our tax structure. They like everything about South Carolina. And so it was already ranked number 1 for U-Haul for people moving here. I think that's going to continue. And it's going to be super fascinating as we have the governor election this year, what tone that they all have. They're all going to have to figure out the right tone to strike between being anti-growth versus, taking a different approach that's pro-growth, but also, well, how do we keep up with the infrastructure, right? It could end up being an anti-growth versus anti-infrastructure sort of environment. And I really don't know where that's going to go. So it's going to be fascinating. So that was on the state level. Then on the national level, we had President Trump recently said that he's going to do whatever he can to make sure homes continue to go up in value and that homeowners stay wealthy. Well, what does that mean? Not super clear. Again, he's just saying it. It doesn't mean he's going to do anything about it. And it could just be something he's saying, excuse me, because homeowners vote more than renters, excuse me. And he actually wants to start seeing how people respond to these messages in order to get his midterm messaging right? Trump will do that. He's known for that. He'll put something out there and then see how people react to it and then tweak his messaging. Or, another possibility, maybe he is actually hearing concern about home prices and he wants to do something to prop them up. In my opinion, that would be a bad thing, right? That sounds like quantitative easing, which tends to juice our economy in ways that we don't want it to happen, and creates housing bubbles, among other things. I don't want that, so I hope that that's not what he's talking about. Or maybe, and this is a theory that I like the most, theory that I came up with, by the way, maybe other people too, but perhaps Trump is seeing that there isn't much that he can do to make housing more affordable, since that is more of a local/state level issue, because that was something he talked about last year, that he wanted to make housing more affordable. Well, it turns out there's not much a president can do in order to do that. And so maybe he just kind of came to that reality. So now he's flipping the message to the opposite message, which is that we're going to make housing more expensive, right? Which is the other way of saying we're going to make sure that it stays valuable. We're going to keep it expensive. And this is actually something the federal government can, in fact, influence, although I don't, again, think it should, because the free market should be determining the cost of housing. So perhaps that's what's happening. He's basically like, well, I'm not able to make housing more affordable, so all of those people that message would appeal to, there's no point in me even going with that message, but we got all of these other people that want housing to remain expensive so that they can keep building wealth. Well, I'm going to speak to them and tell them, hey, your housing, the home that you own, the real estate that you own is going to continue to go up in value. I'm going to champion your home value, your property value. Perhaps that's what he's doing. But regardless, that is a hard pivot from what Trump has been talking about now for several years. He's been talking about making housing more affordable, and now he completely flip-flopped to the opposite message. And so now we have, again, local, state, and federal level, basically everyone is saying we don't care about housing affordability anymore. We are concerned about other things, right? On the county level, they're concerned about stopping development. On the state level, they're concerned about infrastructure. And on the federal level, they're concerned about the collapse of home prices. What all of these things mean, ultimately, the most likely outcome is the cost of housing just continuing to go up in Greenville. And I'm not trying to be, a doomsday prophet here. I'm just trying to tell you guys what's true, right? Because you hear a lot of people out there that think housing is going to get cheaper for one reason or another. And every time I look at data, every time I hear these things from local, state, national politicians, everything I hear points in the opposite direction. Things are going to continue to get more expensive. Now, we could have an economic crash that could cause prices to come down. Cyclically, that's likely to happen at some point in the next 10 years. But right now, it doesn't appear to be happening. And so what do we do with that? I think that we just have to live in this reality. We just have to be realistic about the state of the market. The market is unaffordable right now. That's going to continue unless, really the only thing right now, in the absence of building more homes, which, again, we're getting tons of pushback right now. And that's one thing I think that perhaps the governor was implying in his State of the State speech, was that we need to stop building houses. He didn't say that, but that would be about the only thing that you could do to try to stop the unrestrained out-of-state population growth that he's referring to, not give them places to live. There's not a whole lot else that you can do. And so we've got, I don't even remember where I was going with that, but we've got all of these different things converging, and it means that, oh yes, I was going to say, in the absence of building more houses, we will only see affordability improve if mortgage rates come down. Well, I just talked recently about Kevin Warsh being the Fed chair, that's probably not a good thing for mortgage rates. And we might not see mortgage rates go into the fives all year, even though many people predicted that they would. And so here we go. We've got an interesting dynamic, and this is going to be continuing to be a problem, right? I've been preaching about housing affordability for some time, but here we got in very short succession local, state, and federal level statements and things happening that all point to one thing, and that's nobody is concerned. Nobody in power is concerned about housing affordability right now. And when that happens, that means that housing becomes less affordable, right? Because nobody is pushing towards housing affordability. And so obviously, we will keep tracking the market stats and seeing exactly what direction they go in Greenville over the year and over these next several years. But right now, if you're hoping that housing is going to get more affordable, really what you need is for mortgage rates to come down. That's your most likely situation in order to get that dynamic. That's all I have for today's episode. So thank you guys so much for listening. Hopefully I survived my trip when you're listening to this. Or I might be on the trip while you're listening to this. So say a prayer that I don't fall off of the Angels Landing Trail in Zion National Park or something like that. But I appreciate all you guys, my listeners. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, rate, review, subscribe. Please, if you have a friend, tell a friend about the show. I never asked you guys to do that. Tell a friend about the show. I'd appreciate that. And if you need a realtor, my contact info is in the show notes. Thank you so much. We will talk again next time.